Whoa! B-52 crash declassified. The truth behind the California nuclear bomber crash. This is by channel AI Telly. B-52 crashed. I'm pretty sure there's also a Russian bomber crashed in the same day. What is happening? Two bombers crashing in different part of the world at the same day. Okay, B-52 thing is like, what happened? Like, that's a surprising thing. I mean, accidents happen, right? But something like F-35, F-15, B-52, this is like a big bomber. Like something like this crashing is like, what happened, man? This is by channel AI Telly, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to show us with the graphs and animation based on the best information that is out there. It's going to be interesting. Let's do this one.
This subsonic stratofortress ended up crashing in the Edwards Air Force Base. The aircraft had only climbed a few hundred feet when the nose suddenly pitched down, plunging the massive bomber into the ground and creating a huge explosion.
Only 200 feet. That's nothing for a bomber like that, for a big size plane. And yeah, all the fuel and thing. There was never any chance, man.
But wasn't this aircraft planned to keep flying until 2050? Yes, and that is exactly why they were testing a newly installed radar system. Aviation.
What the fuck? What does that mean? Isn't this plane supposed to fly until 2050? What does that have to do with the crash? It does 2050 means it can never crash? I don't get the point of that.
Experts are looking at three main scenarios. The first theory, a fatal flight control rigging mistake made while the aircraft spent extensive time in maintenance hangar. The second scenario, an uncontained engine failure, where shattered turbine blades burst through the engine casing and ripped through critical hydraulic lines.
Now?
The third theory, an issue with the newly installed high-voltage power.
I don't know about the engine thing. When did last time B-52 crashed or did anything like that because of an engine failure? I understand accidents happens, but there is also an element of like how many times and for how many years B-52 has flown. And B-52 is their main bomber, so it's always doing something. When did you last time hear about engine failing in B-52 so it crashed? So I don't know about that. Like if you have like 70 years of continuous flight in all the plane, an engine never fails. Why would it fail now? Must be some kind of an error. Somebody messed up.
Lines and cooling systems, suggesting a sudden electrical short or wiring failure doomed the flight. Well, the aircraft involved was a B-52H Stratofortress bearing this registration number. It had recently been relocated from Port San Antonio to Edwards Air Force Base in December 2025 to undergo critical upgrades. Because it was a test flight rather than a standard combat or training patrol, the aircraft was carrying a mixed crew of 8 people. This complement included military personnel, civilian staff, and contractors, with Boeing confirming that 2 of its employees were among those on board. This is how the crash happened. At 11:14 a.m.,
was this part of the new upgrade from Rolls-Royce? Because that would be big, like with the literally like testing the upgrade crash happened.
B-52 was cleared to taxi to runway 22 left at Edwards Air Force Base. After a 6-minute taxi and standard pre-flight checks, the crew received takeoff clearance. But B-52s don't dart down the runway like fighter jets. They build speed slowly, shaking the ground with the immense pressure and roar of their 8 engines. At exactly 11:17 a.m., the massive bomber finally lifted off the tarmac. What happened next took less than 8 seconds. The aircraft reached about 200 feet in the air, roughly the height of a 20-story building. Suddenly, the nose pitched erratically, the plane veered off course, and it suffered a critical loss of thrust and control. At that low altitude and carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds of fuel, the crew had absolutely no time to troubleshoot the problem or safely eject. The bomber simply dropped.
It could have been that Boeing 787, which one was that, in India, right? That crashed just last year. It didn't pitch up. The mechanisms failed or something, right? I mean, it could have been something like that. B-52 just didn't pitch up. Once, and as soon as like it nose dived, it never stopped.
Here is the impact. At 11:25 a.m., the aircraft slammed into the desert floor. It was a completely non-survivable impact. The nose section struck first, followed within milliseconds by the wings, which at their span of 185 feet impacted across a corridor of desert that stretched nearly the full width of a city block. The fuel, hundreds of thousands of pounds of it, began its own physics immediately, dispersing, atomizing, igniting.
And this is that JP fuel, right? High, like very high, like flammable rate. What is it? JP? I forgot. Yeah, so yeah, it's just effed up.
The fireball rose within seconds to a height visible from the surrounding highway system. But did the addition of the new radar cause the crash? The new test radar did not cause the plane to crash by making it too heavy. The radar being tested an active electronically scanned array system designed to replace the bomber's aging analog radar weighs only a fraction of that capacity. Furthermore, modern active electronically scanned array radars are often lighter and more compact than the...
That's not how planes work. That's not how aerodynamic works. If it's heavy, it's not just gonna, like lift up and then nosedive. You would have had problem before even lifting it.
legacy mechanical radar dishes they replace. A radar system upgrade would not overweight the aircraft or critically alter its center of gravity.
I mean, it's a bomber with 70,000 pounds of, bomb capacity. I mean...
But what are the different scenarios that could have led to this crash? In scenario 1, we will look at the hidden flaw, a rigging error. The first possibility is a silent mistake made long before the aircraft ever reached the runway. This specific B-52 had just spent extensive time in a maintenance hangar to receive its new radar system. Like all B-52s, it relies on a complex, sprawling web of mechanical cables and hydraulic actuators to move its massive control surfaces. If those cables or hydraulics were rigged incorrectly during the overhaul, perhaps connected backward or improperly calibrated.
Again, like when has that happened? I mean, must have happened, but when did you hear about this? US Air Force, like how long has it been working? How many planes fly? When it comes to military, you always have this like reassurance, like chances of human error at this scale is probably non-existent. Maybe this is one of those extreme, rare and unique elements where that happened. But usually when military things are involved, this kind of an F-up is not common.
The pilots wouldn't realize it while taxiing. The deadly surprise would come the exact moment the wheels left the ground. Instead of a smooth rotation, the control yokes would command immediate, violent, and uncontrollable movements. At an altitude of just 200 feet, there is simply no time or physical space to diagnose a rigging failure and wrestle the plane back into level flight. This is scenario 2. The second theory points to a sudden, violent mechanical destruction. A B-52 has 8 engines, and it is designed to safely continue a takeoff, even if 1 or 2 fail. But an uncontained engine failure is an entirely different beast. If an engine suffers a catastrophic internal breakdown, its rapidly spinning turbine blades can shatter. Instead of staying safely inside the engine housing, those heavy metal blades burst through the casing at immense speeds, acting like high-velocity shrapnel. This flying metal can easily slice through critical hydraulic lines hidden inside the wing.
I don't know, man. That feels like Final Destination level thing. In theory, when you think about it, that makes sense, but I don't see that. Right? It blows up and like just shreds the whole wing. Come on.
Tear into neighboring engines or destroy the wing's structural integrity. The result is an instant catastrophic loss of lift and control on one side of the aircraft. Here is scenario number 3. While the new AES radar wasn't too heavy for the bomber, installing it required threading modern high-voltage power lines and advanced cooling systems through a 60-year-old airframe. It is entirely possible that a sudden electrical short, a flash fire behind the instrument panels, or unexpected
It's not like they've just fitted that radar without checking if the electronics can handle it or not. Is there enough power wattage or not? They would not risk that, right? So if needed, they would have changed the electronics. They wouldn't like, fine, it's not enough power, but it will do. That's not how anything works. That's not how engineering works. So I don't know about that.
interference from the testing equipment itself occurred at the worst possible moment. If the aircraft's primary flight systems were disabled or the flight deck displays went dark right as the plane lifted off, the crew would be flying blind at the most critical phase of flight. Flight testing inherently pushes the boundaries of these older machines, which is why test missions carry such specialized crews. But does the B-52 have ejection seats? And if it does, why did they fail to operate? Well, yes, it is equipped with ejection seats. A standard B-52 crew is spread across two distinct levels, a design that forces the aircraft to rely on two completely different types of ejection systems. On the upper flight deck sit the co-pilot and the captain. Just behind them is the defense section where you'll find the electronic warfare officer and the radar officer. When an ejection is initiated, explosive charges instantly blow off the overhead roof hatches. A split second later, powerful rocket motors fire, propelling their seats violently upward. Interestingly, the lower deck also has ejection seat. For the navigator and radar navigator, who serves as the bombardier, the situation is vastly different. They operate in the cramped, windowless lower deck. Because they are situated directly beneath the flight deck, ejecting upward is physically impossible. Instead, when they pull their handles, explosive hatches on the belly of the aircraft are blown away, and their seats are fired violently downward, dropping them out of the bottom of the plane. So why did this escape system fail during the June?
I mean, that makes sense. Bombers usually fly really high. Whether they eject on top or below, it doesn't matter.
2026 crash. It came down to a fatal lack of time and altitude. The entire catastrophe lasted
200 feet is
8
nothing.
seconds. So how did the pilots...
You can't do much with ejection seat anyway with 200 feet. Like, even parachute deployed wouldn't have helped that much. That's very small distance.
Start the plane? Step 1. Switch to pneumatic start, then turn on the starter for engine number 4, located here. Step 2. Once the RPM reaches 15%, you can advance the throttle for engine number 4. Step 3. Following the same sequence, you can start engine number 5 by waiting for a few minutes. However, starting all 8 engines is a time-consuming process.
So pilot has to remember all that? All right.
Step 4. In case of an emergency, you can initiate startup using shotgun shells, starter cartridges, which are placed here just below the engine. Hot gas is rapidly pumped through the starter, which swiftly spins up all 8 engines at once. Step 5. Once the engines are on, you can push for full throttle. And that's a simplified process for starting a B-52 plane. To help you understand just how difficult it is to stop this massive plane, well, it actually requires a monster parachute just to come to a complete halt.
Yeah.
This is how it works when a drag chute
I mean, I've said this many times. E equals MC squared. This is one of the most important thing that ever is. Ever was, ever is, whatever. Right? Einstein came up with E equals MC squared. That's just like ultimate thing. Because energy and mass is the same thing. So when you know that, you realize what energy means. When this big of a mass plane have a momentum, that requires energy. That is what the energy is. It's a state, right? If it's pumped enough energy, it moves. So in order to move this heavy ass plane, you need to pump a lot of energy. And that energy propels it forward. Energy doesn't go anywhere. Energy is there. So in order to stop it, you need to stop all this energy. So parachute and everything is needed. Same time, if it crashes, even at this, lower height, not even 200, even the lower height, it's a problem because all that energy goes into the ground. And ground is big, ground is strong, ground is earth, so it pushes back into plane. Plane disintegrates. That's how impacts work. So this bigger plane crashing is a very different thing.
Deployed. Upon landing, 2 parachutes are used. A smaller pilot chute is used to pull the bigger main chute out of its container. And this is quite big. It's around 13.3 meters in diameter and around 27 meters long, weighing around 200 pounds, which translates to around 90 kilograms. A quick note, because its wings are so long and flexible, the wings and tail would touch the ground if the nose were raised too much. This is the reason it does not rotate like a regular aircraft while taking off, but requires a long runway to create lift and flies almost horizontally. Interestingly, the landing gear can crab walk, meaning it moves sideways. This feature proves beneficial due to the unusually large wingtips. However, its primary purpose for having the crab walk is to counter the crosswind effect during landings in windy conditions. You also need to stop your data from spam mails, jump calls, and online breaches. This data
You also need to stop your data from crab walking. Yeah, well, go to original page link. From there, support this channel.
off on an annual plan. Despite being built in the 1950s, why is the US military planning to keep it flying all the way until 2050? Well, this is the only plane that can carry from 20 to 84 individual bombs at once, while the upgraded rack can carry around 6 pave-way laser-guided bombs.
What about Lancer? It can't do it has a higher payload, but I'm guessing it doesn't have enough modules and like weapon holders or something that would carry that many bombs. It physically can carry bigger bombs, but not by number, I'm guessing. This is why B-52 is used the most.
On one side of the wing. These guided bombs have a maximum range of over 30 kilometers depending on their drop altitude. This means the higher the altitude, the larger the distance it will travel towards its intended target.
Yeah, glide bomb.
The main purpose of this rack is to carry around 12 AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff missiles. This low-detection, standoff, air-launched cruise missile has a range of around 370 kilometers, which translates to about 230 miles. This capability means that, for example, a bomber equipped with this system can target any military installation near a border, offering a lower-cost alternative to other cruise missiles. But that's not all. It even has an internal bomb bay door. When loading, it can open all the way at this angle. This is done to provide more room for loading or unloading the various weapon systems. However, when dropping or operating the bombs, it opens only halfway. This is probably done to maintain the aerodynamics of the plane when flying at high altitudes. Here you will find that the new rotary weapons bay allows for a wider variety of munitions to be carried. It can be fitted with 8 nuclear-capable air-launched cruise missiles, ALCM. If you consider the external weapon pylons, it can carry up to 20 ALCM combined on both sides of the wings. This missile was specially developed to increase the effectiveness and survivability of the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress strategic bomber. Here's how it works. It usually drops the first missile, and when it is safely away from the plane, it can slowly open its wings and tail sections to glide to its target with its jet engine.
Yeah, JASMs. This is how basically they bombed Iran, most of it. Cruise missiles were used, but not all of them were Tomahawks. Tomahawk is big one. Launched from VLS cells or from submarines, but mostly VLS cells, right? But this is big one. You only reserve that for specific target that is like long range. Otherwise, you use JASMs, right? Air-launched cruise missiles, which they probably dropped from B-52s, a lot of them. Even in the recent strike, you see that video just a few days ago. You see like stars falling, but it's like missiles. Those are JASMs, probably launched from B-52.
The new rotary weapon bay can turn 360 degrees and drop the second cruise missile, then the third and fourth. These clever tactics of the rotary weapons system help in carrying more missiles than the older B-52 planes. Not to forget, it can also carry up to 27 conventional bombs in its internal weapons bay. These can be Mark 82 dumb weapons, which can be dropped in succession on a large scale without any guidance system. Let's take a look at how the weapons systems officer operates in this simple process. Remember the laser-guided bombs we talked about earlier? This is the targeting pod that helps aim at moving targets. Inside the weapons systems officer section, they can laser designate the target with this controller located here. This joystick helps turn the targeting pod and guide the laser-equipped weapons. When ready, they can flip the switch on the button. If a laser-guided bomb is located internally, this opens the bomb bay door. Once released, the bomb can be guided to any mobile target, like this moving tank, by aiming through this laser targeting pod located on the wings, obliterating it completely from thousands of feet away, thus turning the plane into a flying stratofortress. But a question arises. Since these weapons are very heavy, When you drop them and one side of the wing's weapon pylon is empty, it can tilt the plane to this angle. To fix this, the pilot can take fuel in any configuration and move it throughout the jet. So you can start pumping gas from any of the auxiliary tanks, the main tanks, or the outboard and external tanks to maintain the plane's center of gravity. We build every animation from scratch.
Technically, you can compensate that with like engines and like radars. What is it called? I forgot. Those things, right? They go up and down, which failed in the plane I was talking about. So you can kind of like correct it with it. Might not be most efficient, but yeah, it's better to just like change center of gravity. Why not? Apparently, you can do that while moving in the air. There you go. B-52 crash. This is effed up, man. Seeing a workhorse like that crashing and people dying, like a lot of military men, civilians as well. That's just effed up, man. Maybe it's internet, but doesn't it feel like plane crashes are increasing, not just commercial, but military as well? I don't know, man. It's just effed up. Like, we're hearing more and more crashes now. Right, well, there you go. B-52 crash declassified. But two bombers crashed in USA, in Russia. Is it foul play? I mean, maybe this like tin foil hat, but maybe some kind of a cyber attack. And America said we can do that as well, and that won't happen, right? Like back like Russia did cyber attack on USA. USA said like screw you, I can do that too, and did cyber attack as well. I think the response would be bigger than just cyber attack back. If USA realizes it's Russia, I think the response would be much bigger. So no, that's not the case. It's just coincidence, I'm guessing. All right, I'll see you next time.